What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the show. I'm Billy, and I'm joined today by my friend Britt Ammons. Britt is a stand-up comedian and a mother and a wife and other things.
So many things.
How long you been doing stand-up?
Oh, the real answer or the one that will get me respect? No, 11 months.
Don't worry about respect.
11 months.
So you're almost there. I feel like a year is when you really become established as a comic.
Sure.
Like, it takes a little while. It takes a really long time.
No, that's fair. I mean, every single industry, there's a lot of people that think like you have to like earn your stripes and work your way in, which is totally fair. And then also you just do have to figure it out and learn the ins and outs and 100%. So like I never once when I was new ever thought like, oh, I'm on the same level as no, absolutely not. The whole time I'm like, I can't believe I'm here.
I thought I was on the same level when I was brand new.
Yeah.
I thought I was like the next big thing. But 7 years later or so, I'm still pretty much in the same spot.
Well, I think to be successful at all, you have to have some amount of pride, some amount of ego of like, I'm good at this, I can do this.
Yeah.
But like maybe just how much you have is important, like some amount of humility.
Did you ever do any other like stage performance, like plays or?
No, well, I mean, I figure skated for 12 years.
Okay,
that's like sports.
It takes confidence though.
I guess, yeah, and it's like a single sport, so I guess.
Did you do like the competitions where you had to get like scored and everything? See, that's tough. Competition is sometimes harder than performance because with like bands or like stage actors or even stand-up comics, like stand-up's a little different because you get instant feedback. Like either they laugh or they don't.
Sure.
But with like a band, you could play all your songs. You could be terrible and still walk off stage thinking you're like God's greatest gift. Hey, you see that a lot with bands too.
Big time.
They have huge egos.
I was talking to somebody about that the other day because I was talking to somebody and he was in a band. And he was like, "Oh yeah," because we were kind of like talking about comedy and he's like same like some of the similarities and differences. And I told him that I was like, "Yeah, but it's totally different because in a band, like." You people can be yelling and screaming in the bar and like you're jamming and like it can all you know what I'm saying, like so it's not like it's silent and you can hear a pin drop if you fuck up or mess up or whatever.
I say that a lot. You could hide behind the noise
a little bit, yeah. And you have other people to back you up on stage.
Do you listen to like live band music or mostly like pop or hip hop or?
Everybody always assumes it because I'm white.
No,
I listen to everything. I like all kinds of music, but I'm kind of old school. Like my dad, I grew up on like 80s hair metal, and so I really like old school rock, and I really like blues and jazz, and like I'm a Sam Cooke girl.
Like if you go to see a band, usually if you listen to like the banter, even the stuff that makes people laugh in the crowd, like it's usually pretty bad, like pretty poorly written, and you just accept it because they're strumming a few chords while they're saying it.
I have this theory about performers and like from some jobs I've done and some things I've done in entertainment is that it's like the same reason like nobody wants to bang Mick Jagger. Yeah. Really, right? If you ran into Mick Jagger at the bar, you would be like, gross, okay? But because he's on a stage, he's important. Like it's like something psychologically tricks our brain into saying this person's got a microphone, they're important, and so it makes you more attracted to them.
Also, I think fame is a big one. Like popularity it's kind of sad how our society is just kind of like one big popularity contest, and
it's psychological.
You're in like you go to like high school and you've got the popular kids and the cool kids and stuff. Then you get out of high school, you're like, okay, I don't have to deal with that anymore. And it's like, nope, guess what?
The
whole world works that way.
In every other way. High school was easy because it was one track. You know what I mean?
I think about that Bowling for Soup song a lot. Like high school never ends.
Yeah, it just changes.
Because you got like the LA celebrities. I mean, like who's the biggest celebrity? Like somebody like Billie Eilish or like you and me. I'm sorry, we're probably never gonna be Billie Eilish or The Rock.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. I never wanted to be famous. My goal in comedy was like the same as like I saw in a Dave Chappelle interview. He said, if I can make the same salary as a teacher doing this, then I'll be happy. I'll be successful.
100%. That's what, because like when I first started, everybody asked me that. Like everybody was like, well, what's your goal here? What's your end game? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, to do the best I can at it just because, right? But yeah, I would probably prefer to not be mega famous and not be able to not leave my house. I just want to do something I like and make enough money to live off doing that.
Imagine like people writing articles about you every day, just like trashing you,
I'm
or
not
just
that
like
interesting. I don't think that would work. I mean, I think I could deal with it, but I just don't see the point. Like, that's what I mean is I'm not super materialistic. I don't need a lot of money, but I do like to be comfortable. Like, I want to be able to pay my mortgage and drive up my car, but be able to do something I like to get the money to do that. And that would be the dream goal of comedy, of like, okay, I'm touring or whatever that means to make enough money to live on.
Yeah, for me, like, I just don't want to do a job I hate for the rest of my life. That's the biggest thing.
It's like soul sucking.
And I didn't think of like how hard it's gonna be to become like, because when I got graduated high school, I joined a band immediately that was touring, and we had a van and trailer, and we would just hit the road and do shows and stuff. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is gonna be what I do for the rest of my life. And it was just like immense struggle.
It's a grind. That's the thing. Is it like, so because especially now, I would say in the last like 10, 15 years, like fame is such a big thing now, like with Instagram and all that. Like, it's so easy to go viral, or there's so many ways you think that at any moment around any corner you could be famous. So people are pushing so much harder. And so it's like a constant struggle and constant thing of like, it should be fun though. Like, it shouldn't be this much work.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be hard work, but it should be like towards something, not just like a grind.
And it shouldn't be political to where you're competing with other people, because it's not a competition. Like,
no, but people act that way. People act like this is so like little dick energy analogy, but it's true. And like women, unfortunately, in society, we were like conditioned to be this way. But it's really bad in creative spaces, so music, art, anything like that, where you feel like there's not enough space for everybody. So if they're good at what they do and I'm in a similar thing, I need them to be less so I can shine, and that's not how that works.
It's not enough for me to succeed. Others must fail.
Exactly. But if you think about it, it's like if you go into a museum, right, and there's a landscape painting and there's a modern art painting. Everybody that goes in that museum, somebody's going to like one or the other one more, and they're both in the same museum and they pay the same admission to get into it, but I like this one and you like that one.
You ever get jealous of other comics for opportunities?
All the time, for sure.
It's so easy.
It's so easy. But I think
FOMO.
But I think it's not from a bad place. It's not like from a when I'm jealous of another comic, it's because I'm like, man, like I want to be able to do it that way, or I wish I had that opportunity. Not because I'm like they don't deserve it, or I'm better. It's like a different motivation behind the jealousy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I feel like the jealousy I have is like natural, and it's respectful and admirable.
It's usually like I wanted that opportunity,
right?
And it's not fair that they got it instead of me, stuff like that.
I try not to think that way because one, I don't know any of the specifics, and people will feel the same way about you. Like everything's an ebb and a flow all the time. So people, especially because I'm one of the newer ones, so anytime I do get a good show or a good gig, I know people are thinking that about me.
I feel like anytime I start to get like really bitter and like jealous and I'm like having these terrible thoughts, like almost immediately after something really good happens to me.
The universe is like,
and I'm like,
down.
oh, I'm such an asshole. Like,
but it's good. It's like an ego death. It's like a reality check of like, calm down. But that's exactly what I mean.
It's like so and so got on this showcase. I'm jealous of them, and then this headliner hits me up like, hey, you want to do 3 shows on the road? I'm like, why did I even care about that?
Because, and someone's thinking the same thing about you. How did they get that? They're not even funny. And it's so subjective. And that's what I try to like remind myself about comedy, is that it's so subjective. What I think is funny, you might not think is funny, and this, that, and the other. And it doesn't matter if a booker thinks one person's funnier than you are. It doesn't matter if you've been doing it for 9 years. They're funnier to them or whatever. So there's no
Or they've known them longer.
Or they have a connection.
Or it was just like they happened to be scrolling through like, hey, who can I put on this show? And they were scrolling through, their name came up
so
first.
many things all line up for that to happen that you can't. It's like you have to check your ego and you have to remind yourself that like it's not that simple.
I'm bad about it too because I book a showcase and it's only every like 3 months or whatever, but I'll just like be like, all right, who should I put on this? And my mind goes blank, and I just go on like Facebook or Instagram or something. It just happens to be the first person I scroll past who I think is funny. I just hit them up and put them on the show.
But that's a lot of that. I mean, when I very first started, it was like between Discord and Instagram and just like a few people that I knew, it was like everything I got booked was because I just was like, they had just posted something and I'm like, I'll do it. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily like fair or like really intellectual, but it worked,
And there's a lot of people who don't even use social media that much.
I don't blame them.
Jason Holsey's an example. Like, he had to get Facebook because,
Had to.
like you said, everybody's posting on Facebook, like, hey, who's available?
It's a disadvantage.
And,
It sucks because I hate technology. I hate social media. Like, I'm not good at it. I have a marketing degree, so that's kind of ironic, but I don't like it, but it's so important and necessary. It's like a tool, but you have to look at it as a tool instead of as the world, as everything. If you can get on, do what you got to do, and get off, you'll keep your sanity. But if you obsess, it's hard.
The marketing degree, is that geared toward like online marketing stuff?
Yes and no. The problem is, to show my age a little bit, I mean, I graduated from college a while ago. So when I got mine, social media was still kind of newer, and it wasn't as, we did the basic SEO utilizations, like basic things that were marketing, but it was still very much kind of grassroots, like in person, door to door, that kind of stuff. So I didn't even get a lot of the new stuff that they're doing now. I didn't learn any of that in school.
Facebook ads.
Yeah, that was all
Instagram
kind of a little
ads.
bit after my time, and it's really that stuff you learn as you go. It's not really something you can learn in school. I mean, you can, but
Because I hate like the social media ad stuff. I used to do it a little bit, but now I just try to do like organic. Like,
it works better. I guess grassroots what they call it, because I tell people that all the time. I talk to all the comics about that. It's like, there's nothing wrong with putting an ad out and doing all that kind of stuff. But like I think I heard you say on another podcast, and I've told several venues this. You have a show on a Saturday, and it's in a downtown square. So for 2 days leading up to that, you can ask all the shops to put your poster up in the window. You can ask all your bartenders to mention it. You can hand out flyers. The farmers market they have on Thursdays, because people will come to that.
Watching like Mellow Black promote a show is like a master class in show promotion, because he hits the Marietta. All his shows are close to the Marietta Square, and he hits the square like every day with flyers. He hangs them up in the local businesses. He actually talks to people.
It works.
He goes to like the local business like association meetings and stuff. Like he's just out grinding every day.
But that's how you get there, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I learned in marketing and through years of working in corporate and all that stuff that is true and does work. Is that people think, oh, I'll just post it on my Instagram and then that's it. That's all I have to do.
Yeah.
And no. You'll get in what you put out into it, and that is just, people like to form connections. People like people. So yeah, if this is a couple that they go to the farmers market every Thursday in Marietta, and the guy comes up and hands them a poster, and they talk for 15 minutes. Oh, he was nice. Let's do that. Let's make plans to do that. And now you've got them, and they're going to call their neighbor, and it works.
The band was really rough, because like in a band you kind of have to pay for ads, because every other band is paying for ads, and they might sound similar to you or like, and a lot of the times I see bands that kind of get to the next level, not like famous or super successful, but they're just constantly running ads.
Grinding,
it's like they're looking for that target demographic of like, oh, you like this music? Well, then you'll like us, and they do all the hashtags and stuff. It's just so like
and that works, but it's just what you want to invest your effort into.
I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up to be a video editor or a photographer. And now look at me. I got all this junk that I haul around with me.
It's better than me. Well, but that's the thing, is that I think that's why a lot of creatives, we get drained and burned out so easily, because we want to spend all this time writing jokes and performing and doing the creative, performative part of that, and having to do the build-up work is exhausting, and it's not necessarily, it's hard to make ourselves do it,
Have you found it hard to like balance having a family, making money, and doing stand-up comedy?
Hard. It's super hard. I mean, I've got 3 teenage daughters. I have a bunch of different jobs, and
And you mostly work at night, right?
Now, but when I started comedy, I still had my day job. I still had I was like a 9 to 3 in an office.
Is that a struggle though, working at night and seeing like all your comedy friends out like grinding while you're at work?
That's probably
trying to make money.
Yeah, that's the part that's hardest for me, is time allocation. Because when I worked during the day, I was tired pulling double duty, but I knew any night I wanted to go to a mic, I could. And now I have to pick, like, I'm going to work this night, I'm going to mic this night.
Yeah.
And having to sacrifice one or the other, that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
I used to work at a smoke shop. Sorry, Mom. And we were open till like midnight. So it'd be like, if I had to work that night, I was not going out to do comedy. And it would just bothered me so much. I had to quit.
It bothers me. Yeah. Well, the only advantage I have is, like, I do have some autonomy as far as, like, when I go in. So sometimes I can, like, hit a mic and then go to work. But again, it's like, but then if I don't make money or don't do well, then I'm in the back of my head, like, oh, it's because I got there late. And I should have just been responsible and adult and gone to work and not told my jokes. Especially when it's like an open mic or something that you're just kind of working on stuff. And I live so far from all of it, so I have to allocate travel time too. So I can't just run down the street and hit a mic and then go home. I mean, for me to hit an open mic is kind of like a 5-6 hour turnaround.
Yeah.
Between driving, getting there in time to get on the list, waiting for my turn, going up, driving back to wherever I'm going. So it's a conscious decision to do it. So doing that and trying to, like, wife, mom, work, clean, bathe is a little much.
I have to ask, is the gray streak natural? Is that?
Yeah, everybody. It's so funny because
I'm sorry.
No. It's not. It's just one of those things, like Liam, I'm sure, like, everybody, like, how tall are you?
It almost looks dyed though.
Everybody thinks that it's because it's so
'Cause it's like
white.
highlights
Like, see how gray all
almost.
my roots are too, though?
Yeah.
Like, I've got tons of gray. So
Did you always have that though?
I've had it since I was young. So it's not a birthmark. Like, I wasn't born with it, but I got it when I was like 11, 10. Like, I was pretty young when it started to come in. And I've actually been to a dermatologist as an adult, and they basically said that I'm extremely, like, Irish and Scottish descent, like almost 90%. So they said it's really common in, like, Celtic people that, like, it's like a flash where, like, the pigment there, you just gray early. Some people go all gray, but mine come in, like, I have one here, and then I actually have, like, another one here, and then I have gray, but, like, in a streak. So when I was younger, I got teased about it. They called me a witch. Like, it was not a cool thing to have. So I dyed it. I dyed it brown for years because kids would make fun of me. Because if you're unique, we got to tease you about it.
Well, I feel like kids now, like, it's the opposite. If you look basic, they'll make fun of you. And
God, that's what's so weird about I have 3 teenage daughters.
If you're not goth, they make fun of you.
So, like, all the advice and all the life lessons I learned as a kid that I thought I was going to, like, transfer to them are opposite. It was like when we were growing up, it was like you want to fit in, you want to be normal, you don't want to be different because then they'll call you out on it, even though they're really jealous. And now it's like, no. You got to be cool. You got to be unique. You got to be white, or you're not. And it's like, that's too much work for a kid. But I dyed it until my 20s, and that made me feel old. And then my husband now, he saw it one day, kind of peeking through, and was like, "Oh, that's so sexy. Don't dye it." So I stopped dyeing it. And then as soon as I let it just grow in, people love it. I mean, constantly stop me and ask me about it.
That's crazy. You would dye it because I feel like that's just like one of those unique things that makes you special.
In retrospect, I feel it's silly. In retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, man, it's like who I am, and people remember me, and it's memorable and it's fun. But at the time, I don't know. I felt like ironically, as a comic, I think I ask all my comic friends this, I don't really like attention. Like, I love to perform and I like doing it, but I feel like conceited or like weird if people think I want to be the spotlight. Yeah. So it would get attention from people and it would make me uncomfortable because I felt awkward.
Yeah.
And now that I'm older and I have more experience, I can handle it better. But when I was younger, I didn't know how to handle that kind of attention.
See, I love the attention.
Most people do.
I love to be on the spot. Like a lot of times people who just know me from other things, like my work or even like church or something like that, they're like, I can't see you performing or whatever. But it's like, as soon as I'm on the spot, that's where I really shine. Yeah.
I would say I'm the same, but the problem I have is working in bars, like bartending, and then I have older brothers. And like, so there's a lot of very sharp, sarcastic quipping. So when I'm put on the spot, like I'm back in the corner, I feel like I get a little mean.
You were kind of forced into it.
A little, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's kind of like that quippy, kind of like sarcastic. Especially when you're in a bar scenario and someone's like giving you shit, you can quip back at them, and it's like, ooh, you know. Yeah. It's normal. So I think what I do is I panic that I'm gonna say something a little off color, a little sharp, and it's gonna come off mean or bitchy, and I don't want to do that. So I don't like to be put in that position. And I'm like, oops, my bad.
Yeah, but you can't please everyone, though.
No, and I'm getting better with that. But now it's like a trend. So now all the girls are dyeing like the front, like blonde or gray or whatever. So constantly 20-year-old girls are coming up to me like at Publix, like, who does your hair?
How did you do that?
How do you get that white? And I'm like, are you ovulating? They're like, what? I'm like, go find a fuckboy and get pregnant. and then wait 9 years and you'll have this beautiful stress streak. No, but yeah, so I feel bad because now it's like now I'm trendy by accident.
Stress streak.
So now the thing that made me unique, now I fit in. So I can't wait for that trend to die in like 6 months, and then I can just be like the old lady that didn't get the memo that shit's not cool anymore, and then we can start over.
Remember when girls used to have like the blonde highlights?
Oh yeah, the chunky blonde, or like the black on the bottom. Yeah, man, I was early 2000s. I know, double tank top. Freaking
with
low rider jeans.
Yeah, low rider
tail.
jeans.
I give my husband shit about that all the time because he's 35, and so like all of our friends are kind of, we're like our mid 30s, and we all make fun of how stupid we all looked in high school, but still to this day, like if a girl is like a white spaghetti strap tank top and low rider jeans, all the guys are kind of like, it just hits a special place.
For me, it was like the Beatles haircut. I couldn't give it up for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Until I grew my hair long, I had like the helmet hair, and it was bad.
The bowl. I mean, I
look back now. I'm just there's the Beatles on that bag over there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Top right, that was me pretty much my
Shaggy.
whole life. Yeah.
Yeah. But they're coming back in. I mean, that 70s aesthetic is coming
I
back.
guess so. You see that like UFC fighter from the UK? He's got like the.
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
His name's like Patty or something.
Patty
the Batty.
Patty the Batty. I never get to watch like TV or anything.
You don't watch a lot of fights.
I do when I get invited. Like our friends will have like parties, you know what I mean, like a Saturday night fight, and we'll all go over and like watch it a little bit. But as far as like me just at home, I always feel so out of the loop, which is interesting with comedy because you want to try to like current events and pop culture and everything, and I have to force myself because I like almost never watch TV. I don't stay up to date on like shows. I just don't have time.
I usually try to read the news like once a day and see if I can come up with anything like just based off headlines or
which is a good exercise.
One paragraph of the article or something. Yeah.
I listen to like talk news radio because I drive all the time constantly, so that I get a lot of like Audible and stuff, but I listen to talk news radio, and people always make fun of me because they're like, how old are you? Like I don't, it's not that I like it, but I'm listening for like what's going on in the world in general,
like conservative talk radio.
Sometimes
like Rush
there's
Limbaugh.
some good shit in there. Because it's not that I necessarily like agree with the rhetoric or whatever, it's because I'm listening for opinions or perspectives or stories. And that's how I get most of that. But like, people will be talking like a TV show or something, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, so I hate it when there's like reference heavy comics.
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot when I'm watching them.
I try to like, if I'm gonna reference like a TV show or a movie, I try to only use that joke for the period that show is relevant. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just did that with the Taylor Swift because all the girls were having conniptions over the Taylor Swift tickets.
Are you a Swiftie?
I'm not anti-Swiftie. I just also don't care.
I kind of like her music.
I like her newer stuff more than I did her older stuff. But I'm also a middle-aged white girl from the suburbs. So like that was kind of my joke, was that like, what's hard is being the only white girl that doesn't care about Taylor Swift tickets. Like it's cool. Cool. Good for you.
Well, I'm not gonna pay like what $400
for
any
like
show.
$500 a piece for them, and that's fine because it's whatever's important to you. But so to me the funny part is that I don't care, But stuff like that is kind of the only time I'm able to do that. But when people make like heavy references to certain things, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Sports gets me a lot as a guy.
Yeah,
I'm not a sports guy, so when a comic starts like talking about this athlete or that athlete and what they did,
I'm like, if you make like a general reference about observation about basketball, I can get it.
Yeah.
But if you're like, this player in '94 on this special Olympics team, you guys remember that? And I'm like, no. I don't.
Unless like Michael Jordan or LeBron or Kobe, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But then I feel bad because I feel like it's not working, not because they're not funny, but because I just don't get the reference. And I do that all the time because I like to like reference old movies and songs. And so then I have to remember like nobody's seen The Fifth Element. Like I'm a nerd, okay? Like they don't know what I'm talking about. I love that movie too, but. I had to think about that if I can throw one of those in there.
Lots of comics are nerds, though. But you also don't want to do comedy for comics
But that's hard. You fall into that.
You'll get stuck.
You do, and it's like I almost have this like gauge that when I'm doing an open mic, and it does really well, and I go back and I'm listening to it, and I can hear specific comics I know, and I'm like, oh, that's not a good joke. Just because I'm like, not that it's not a good joke, but it's like a totally different audience. So things that comics find funny, a regular audience won't sometimes, and vice versa. And so you cannot judge. Like that's why open mics are hard, because you got to get it out there. You got to say it. You got to just hear yourself feel it. But you can't really use that as evidence Because if it's silent, it's a room full of comics and no one laughs, it might not be that it's not funny.
Have you had like a really bad show experience?
I mean, yes. I'm hesitant to say I've bombed only because I haven't like been booed off or like it hasn't been like so uncomfortable that I like almost wanted to cry. But it's definitely been where I'm like, this is not going.
I've been booed off. I've had it go so bad that I did cry before in my car.
But
that
home. Probably meant you were taking some kind of a chance, though.
You know what I mean? True. Yeah.
If a show goes so bad that people are emotionally moved to say something about it, you did something.
Specifically, the worst one for me was I went to this show and like it was kind of like a black room where just it's relevant because they had a DJ. And the show didn't start for like an hour after it was supposed to start.
Late,
And the DJ had been playing like dance hits the whole time. And the whole crowd had moved their way to the dance floor.
Right.
And was like getting down, like dancing with each other,
Not
like
interesting.
getting like sexual on the dance floor. And then all of a sudden it's like, cut the record, everybody sit down
Listen to this white boy talk.
and listen to the white boy talk.
Yeah.
And so it went really bad. I was like, I might die on the way out of here. Like they hate me. And got in my car. The promoter comes out. He paid me $40 before the show started. And I literally set the mic down like halfway through my set and just walked out the door and went and sat in my car. And then the promoter came out and he was like a big dude too, like white t-shirt, white Jordans, white Tahoe, comes up to my window. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" I was like, "I'm probably just going to head out."
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, he was like, "Well, you're going to give me my $40 back, right?" I was like, "Yes, sir."
Dignity.
Here you go.
Man, but we were talking about that earlier. I do like something I've consciously tried from the beginning, like push myself, is to try to do like a lot of black rooms because it's a totally different energy, a totally different vibe that I appreciate. I get so much more out of it. I learn a lot more. But it is definitely like they're like, what you got? Like don't fuck this up. Like there's a lot more expectation there, which is good for growth, but terrifying. But the thing I love is that like black women are so supportive. Yeah. Like generally, which is interesting.
And some of the funniest demographic.
And they will like go back with you and like they give you so much like to work with. Yeah. So I really appreciate it that like, you know, because like black women are not intimidated easily, you know what I mean? So if you're a good-looking girl up there on a stage telling a joke about something sassy, they'll be like, okay, like they want to hear the rest of it. Like they're kind of open-minded to it. Whereas like sometimes other crowds are not. They're more like insecure, and it's kind of like fucks with the energy, you know. And so like I appreciate that, but it is also one of those like, but you better bring it. And if you're not able to bring it, you feel very embarrassed.
And it is a different culture, so sometimes you got to joke about different things, like maybe. My joke about like Yu-Gi-Oh isn't gonna go over that well. Hey, maybe it will, but like kind of just like the problems I deal with may not be the same problems this crowd deals
100%,
with.
100%. Got to keep in perspective, and that's what. And I have an advantage there too because I have kids. So like you know, a lot of like women, you know, especially like black women and stuff like that, they're very family oriented, very like you know family social. So like. They get it. They like things that stupid kids, shit your kids do is funny to them. You know, when I beat their ass, it's funny. They get it. So that helps me because again, you know, if I'm doing Smiths in Atlanta and it's 90% comics and 10% 20-year-old people in there drinking, they don't really get my kid jokes.
Smiths is weird because it's like when the comics show up, it's a lot of hipsters. Yeah. Because comics tend to be kind of hipster, but Smiths is a very like. Frat boy kind of
interesting.
bar.
It's like a weird dynamic,
which is weird because they do like punk rock shows. Like my band used to play at Smith's before I ever knew they had a comedy night or whatever open mic.
Smith's it reminds me of like what you'd call like the Quad. In like a college campus, right? Like that's where everybody goes. Yeah. All the different cliques have their days. Yeah. Like on Thursdays, the jocks do pep rallies, and on Fridays, it's like everybody goes to the same spot, but they like different.
Have
cliques.
you been to the 1 a.m. show on Saturdays?
I haven't. I know I'm a terrible person. I mean, I'm never gonna get invited on.
It's tough. I play guitar at a church, so I have a tough time getting to a 1 a.m. show on a Saturday night.
Well, I'm used to that. It's my problem is, and that was part of what the question you asked earlier. I struggle because I like going to shows. Like I talk to Ryan about this all the time. Ryan's girl is that like I like comedy. I like to go to shows. I would like to be able to just go and observe more and be it more, but it's so hard time-wise.
Yeah.
Like it's such a commitment and such a commitment for me to go, even just go watch a show. So if I'm not on it or if I'm not getting something from it, it can be hard. So that's kind of an example of one of those where like I got to be up at 6:45 and I'm not, if I go to the 1 a.m. show, I'm literally not going to bed.
Yeah.
And so it's not that it's not valuable and I don't want to do it, but I have to really prioritize. And it kind of sucks, you know?
Yeah, because you got to balance it. You got to make time for everything. And it can feel tough to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go to this show where I'm not getting any stage time.
Right.
And it almost feels like a waste of time. But
it does. But, I mean, it's networking. It's important. And, I mean, I want to do it, but I'm just not able to do it as much as I would like to.
I think once you got an hour, though, like certain days it's more beneficial to go to the showcases that happen that night than it is to go to the open mics because – you can go to McCracken's on a Monday, work out your new stuff, then go on a Friday to whatever, like One Up is doing or Hissy Fit or Hand Up, Stand Up, all the different like showcase people.
It might get thrown on or whatever. And yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's a lot of like trial and error and like not being attached to the outcome. So that's the thing is like, if you go to that with a completely open mind, like maybe I'll get on, maybe I won't, you're fine. But if you get on it like really disappointed, like I know Punchline has been crazy because like I've gone a few times and I've gotten up a couple times and buckets are hard for me for that exact reason.
Okay. I was going to ask about buckets.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm being rude.
No,
I just got to send one
fine.
quick text.
You're fine. Is that buckets are kind of like my kryptonite because I want to go for the potential I could get on. At least I'm going to get to see comics even if I don't get to go on. It's still networking. It's still being seen. It's still being out there. But then it's like that risk that you might not, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's not off the table for me, but it's just lower on the commitment priority for me.
I have sworn off buckets.
You're stressful.
I hate bucket spots. I'll go to the show. If you want me to come to the show, I'll come watch.
Sure.
But I'm not putting my name in the bucket.
It's like a heartbreak.
It's just, I feel like when it comes to like open mic, I get out enough. I do enough open mics to work out new material and punch up old material, like refresh whatever I'm doing. But like a bucket spot, I just don't like not knowing when I'm going to go up.
Yeah, and you don't have any time to prepare or like, and I try, something I've gotten better at that really helps me, especially in bar, like Atlanta crowd, is like trying to take something relevant that's been being talked about at the last person and kind of open with that to kind of keep people on the same page and kind of hit them really fast, really funny. And so if you're not paying that much attention, like it can't do that.
Yeah.
So I feel like with buckets, it's very choppy transitions.
Yeah.
And that messes with the energy flow of the show a little bit.
Also feel like a bucket spot's just a way to get more people in the crowd if you think not enough people are going to be there.
And if you're going to do it and you're going to be like, look, it's a bucket, but it's a cutoff at 20, or if you're going to have some more parameters around it to where people feel like it's more fair, I think it's easier. But when you're just like, hey, man, 75 people are in this bucket, and maybe you'll go, maybe you won't, and everybody has to do this, it starts to feel a little bit almost like exploitative a bit. I don't do buckets at my shows, but if you show up, I might give you a guest spot. Well, but that's different. That's kind of like you know who's going to go on, you know the order, you kind of have an idea, you have to set up, and then, but yeah, you got a little time to play with. If somebody shows up, you can throw them on, or if they hit you up, hey man, can I get 5 minutes on this or whatever, that's fine. Yeah. But coming up with
out-of-towners.
Yeah, but coming with this expectation of like all 45 people in the audience are all just hoping for their next, it's not good anyway because people aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
You're not listening. You're not getting the feedback you want.
That too.
Anyway.
I can't pay attention if I'm worried about, am I going to go up next?
Right.
Do I have time to go to the bathroom or go outside and
100%.
Smoke or vape?
Yeah, my camera's not set up. I don't know who's ready. Yeah, exactly. So you're really not getting an active audience anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not, to me, it's kind of counterintuitive. And then there's all that it's a bucket, but then I pull the bucket from back there, so it's definitely not my friend who goes up every week.
I've definitely seen that where it's a bucket spot, but they just pull any piece of paper out and they already know who's going up.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm not in the position to complain, but it's not like people don't notice. Is my point.
Have you had to do like a comedy competition?
I've done a couple of them actually.
I think that's like the most.
It's rough. It's pretty rough.
Counterintuitive way to do comedy.
It is. I do them for the experience, But yeah, they're kind of it's like again, not being too attached to the outcome and not taking it too seriously. Like if I win or if I lose, it really doesn't mean that they were funny or
I'll always do it if I'm asked to. Like, hey, you want to do the competition this week or whatever? Yeah, of course, it's a show. To me, it's just a show. It's not a competition.
Yeah, I do them because it's time.
But
a lot of comics
always get the same feeling every time I don't get picked as the winner. No, just that, like, it just feels bad. Like
it does feel bad. It is like we're being judged enough every mic we go up on, internally and externally. We don't need someone to pick a winner. It was interesting because I did a comedy show in Anderson, and like I told you, I was literally the only girl and the only white person. And so I already knew I was screwed as far as I wasn't going to have the energy. I wasn't going to have, the mojo, but I was going to try. And they were very supportive. They're all teasing me. All of them were talking shit about me going up, and it was fine. It was funny. But the thing was, it was a $400 prize for the winner. So they were all being very serious about this. I'm like, y'all, I drove 3 hours to be here. I know I'm not going to
Also,
win.
there's a lot of times where I'm on a competition where I'm like, they're not going to give $400 to the white guy.
Yeah, they can't.
There's no way.
And I'm a girl too, so they're gonna be like, "Oh, she just gave it to her. She's a girl."
Yeah.
We feel bad for her. But again, it was funny because there was hardly any audience. Like nobody showed up. It was all the comics and like their friends. And so they had this little team meeting before the competition even started about how they were gonna do the prize because there was supposed to be, audience applause, and they're like, we can't do that now. And all the comics got very upset. They got very because they were like, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna draw a name out of a hat, and whoever wins wins. And they're like, no, that's not fair. That's because they all felt very confident that they were the funniest.
They brought their best jokes.
They brought their best shit. They knew they were gonna win, and so that's not fair. That's not fair. And I mean, I agree with them. And I said, hey, how about we do this like gentlemen, and everybody goes up and does their set, and we can all act like adults and agree who was the funniest. Because okay, if 5 comics go up there and we all do a set, I know who did the best. Okay, and you sitting over here being like, oh, that's little dick energy.
Yeah.
Like he was the funniest. Give him the money.
Yeah,
and that's
and maybe that was just tonight. Maybe next time you're the funniest.
Right, but that whole like it's not fair. It just felt very kiddish and childish. So that's the thing I don't like about competitions, or that people get weirdly competitive and ugly with each other over. I'm like, doesn't mean anything. This doesn't mean anything, But they can be fun. I mean,
Have you done any E. Craig's shows?
No.
He does less stuff now than he used to, but he used to do competitions all the time.
No.
People would get so upset too because at E. Craig's competitions, it was always whoever brought the most audience members, they're the one who wins.
Well, but when you do an audience picks, that is kind of the deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if I bring 10 people, they're going to cheer for me.
Yeah.
And you might have been way funnier than me, but, I don't like that that's the way it is, but that's just how it is.
I'd rather the audience come to my show because they want to come to the show. They want to see the comedy, not because their friend said, hey, I might win $100 if you come to the show.
Well, that's why I feel like in this show we tried to say that then they should have picked judges, and not from the audience. It should have been the DJ, the venue owner, and one other person that were somewhat non-biased should have been the judges, and that should have just been how it was done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I kind of like that with the one they do at El Dorado, where it's there's a panel of comics, and they do the judging.
Sure.
And that's nice because
I know I don't get to do I haven't been able to do any of those. I have a really hard time doing a lot of the roll call shows and stuff just because they fall at times that are hard for me with work or whatever, and because I need their bucket or their pre-set up with people that I just don't get picked, and that's fine.
What's your workout, Mike? What would be your go-to if you could only go to one open mic
a week?
A week, yeah.
Oh, that's hard. I love late night El Dorado Friday, just because it's usually everybody's there. It's mostly comics, but
it's a hang.
It's a good energy because everybody's usually coming from another show or something like that. So everybody's kind of in a good mood. Everybody's got a lot of energy, a lot of fire. But it's hard to get on at this point because it is popular. But I do really well there, just spitting stuff off. I do love that mic. I also really like Smallhorn's new show at Tin Roof. It's a good.
I just did that one last week for the first time.
Yeah, it's new, in the air, but the area is a good. It's what I would call the suburban city.
Yeah.
Because it's Brookhaven.
Yeah.
And that's where I work. And so it's literally people with money a little bit. They're older, more established, but they're still city people. Yeah. So you can be a little raunchy. You can be a little kind of,
I used to go to Brookhaven a lot. My friend lived there at Post Apartments in Brookhaven, and he worked for Post, so he got a deal on the apartment. Nice. It was a lot of rich people.
Yeah.
Man, the 4th of July and like Memorial Day pool parties there would be
dope.
insane. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, like, and I always appreciate, like, I take into consideration with mics about, like, production value, because even when it's an open mic, having a stage and a microphone makes a difference.
Oh, yeah. Tin Roof, the venue is
Set up
amazing. And I was telling Kenny last week when I went there, like, if you can get the venue behind you where, like, they'll stick with
more.
this, even if it's a little slow some weeks, then this could be really
It could be really good. That's what I'm saying. That I think that mic has a lot of potential, a lot. So I like that one. And then now this is a little, all the other comics are left, but like Owen Hunt runs great rooms in Athens. His Authentic Brewery show, it's like at the end of the month. I think it's like a Thursday or Friday at the end of the month. Great show. Okay. Stage. Set up.
I know Owen, but I didn't know he was running a show.
He runs a couple, mostly in Athens. He's got that one at Authentic, and then he's got one at, like, I can never say this right, Perez, like a coffee shop in Athens and stuff. I haven't been able to do that one yet. That's on Sundays. But as far as like a show, like a once a month
I need to get
show,
in with Athens. I'm bad about doing like Georgia stuff.
that's a sleeper, man. I'm
Atlanta.
telling you. I know, obviously, Lanny does tons of stuff, and Joe, they got that, but.
I usually do Lanny's stuff in like Brazelton or like Gwinnett or whatever. Yeah.
But the thing with Athens is like a melting pot of, you've got kind of progressive, kind of like open-minded, creative people out there because they're at the school or whatever. But then you've also
so
got
many great artists have come out of Athens.
Mm-hmm. It's got a very Nashville-y, like old school Nashville vibe, I think too. And there's a lot of creative people coming out of there, a lot of intelligent people. But then you also got like old school Watkinsville old people money. So people will pay for a show, and there's tons of venues.
I dated a girl that went to UGA, and so that just left a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, there's other stuff there.
The UGA people are very arrogant.
Well, okay, but from a comic standpoint or from a producer standpoint, Athens has tons of venues, tons of places with stages and sound equipment and
the 40-watt
and built-in clientele.
Yeah.
So are you going to try to force a bar show in Atlanta at a weird venue where it's quiet and dark and damp and no one's paying attention? Or are you going to go a little bit outside? You're going to go to like Athens where it's all built in and all you got to do is bring the comics.
What area are you from? You're from like Gwinnett area, right?
I went to Decula High School.
Okay, I know where that is.
Yeah, I actually lived in Buford.
Just because my band played in Decula one time.
Decula. Nobody ever says that. They're always Dacula. But now I live like in Winder, Bethlehem, like out 316. So like closer to Athens.
Okay, yeah.
It's still like 20 minutes from Athens, but much closer to Athens than Atlanta.
Not like Lake Lanier.
No, but I used to live kind of closer to Lake Lanier, but no, it's...
I think Lake Lanier is haunted.
Definitely. I mean, like there's so many dead bodies there.
Well, there's like a whole town buried under the lake, right, or whatever.
Well, anytime you mix alcohol and water consistently, I mean, people are gonna die.
That's how I feel. Like maybe it's haunted by the spirit of alcohol. The spirit of Bud Light.
Oh God, Coors Light and fish sticks. I don't know. It's terrible. Lanier's I got a lot of like friends that have boats and stuff out there. So they have like boat parties and stuff. That's fun.
Lanier's crazy though. Like they have like legitimate like yachts out there.
Oh yeah, people with money live that.
Serious boats.
Blows my mind. I'm like, if you have that much money, why would you be on Lanier? Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you be on like Raven or?
I guess you just want to stay near Atlanta or whatever.
It's all about it's about where you want to be, I guess.
Yeah, my brother's ex-wife lived they had a house at Lake Raven, and they were rich, man.
That's that's Saban territory, you know. You have some money out there.
It was like they had like the boathouse and then the main house and then like a guest house and everything. I'm like, we don't live like this.
But it's about like getting bang for your buck too, because like people tease me about living out in the burbs and stuff. But my thing is like I have a 3,500 square foot house. I have 5 acres. You know what I mean? Like where I live in Winder, I would never be able to afford closer to the city. Ever.
Oh yeah.
Ever.
Especially now, it's gotten real bad. I rent and it's rough, man.
Oh yeah, I bought it at the right time because freaking my house is worth $200,000 more than I paid for it.
My buddy's a real estate agent. He's been trying to help me find like a new place to live, and I gave him like my budget, and it's just like shacks and trailers for that price.
Well, and that is somewhat new, like the COVID, that's all blown up, but that's consistently been a problem for the past like 15 years, because I tell people all the time, like not to sound like old fogey, but like my first apartment, I had like a 500 square foot quadplex that was $575. And it was in a nice area, it was not shitty, it was, you know what I mean? And then it was like, my next one was like $775, and then it was $975, and it just like, but it went like, I feel like it went so fast.
I got my first apartment after high school. I was going to KSU, and my friends were also going to KSU, but one of them was in my band, so I think it was like $750 for a 2-bedroom apartment. There was 3 of us, so we were all paying like $250 a month, and that was. And what we did was we put all our beds in the same room, so we would all sleep in the same room, so we would have the other bedroom for like hanging out.
Stuff. That's how you know. But band life. Well, that's what I mean. I feel like for a good chunk of time, maybe like a good like 5 to 10 year period, between $500 and $900, you could get a solid place to live.
Yeah.
Almost anywhere really.
Now one bedroom's like $1,500 bucks.
It's so and people are like, oh, it's a housing crisis. I'm like, there's plenty of housing, and they're not affordable housing. Like, you have to have 4 jobs to afford a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, you have to be in a relationship. Like, there's a whole bit about that, about like people aren't dating or married because they want to be in relationships, because they can't afford their apartments. You know what I mean? It's just like, if I'm not in a relationship, I can't afford my apartment.
Though, man. Like I tell my friends all the time, they're like, dude, I don't know how I'm gonna move out of my parents' house. I'm like, get a girlfriend.
They'll legitimately find a sugar mama.
Because I don't know if you feel this way, but like for me, I feel like anytime like girls always want to move in with you for some reason. Like, why do you always want to move in? But why, man? I like having my own space. I'm married now, but I still like having I have my own room.
I think it's a love language thing, not to be cheesy, but it's because guys operate on a different wavelength than women. So like, guys tend to really value their alone time, and that's kind of their reset period. Like you get home from work and you want to mellow out. And like, girls are the opposite. Girls are like, I identify, like, part of my identity is my relationship with you. So like you so reset annoying. Me, you make me feel better. It's not conducive. It sucks. That's why there's so much tension between the sexes, I think, too, because we just think about things differently. So like if I like you and we get along, why don't you want to be with me all the time? In our mind, you not wanting me to be with you all the time is like, there's something shady going on.
My wife sometimes gets upset with me because I have to go to work.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's pretty common.
I have to go to work.
They're like, support this household, but don't leave me. But it's a tricky balance.
She'll be like, I want to quit my job and just be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm like,
just crawl inside you and live in you forever.
Then I have to go to work.
Right? I mean, well, and it's funny because my husband and I, we've been together for like 8.5, 9 years now. And
congrats, that's a long time.
Thank you. Yeah, well,
these days,
absolutely. Well, and I mean, I was married for 7 years the first time, and then I was single for like 4.5, and then now I've been remarried. So I've got a pretty good track record in the relationship department. But when we first started dating, we both had our own places.
It sounds like your current husband is much more chill than your previous husband.
Very, yes, a polar opposite.
Because I met your husband. He's a really cool, chill, nice guy.
I'm glad you think so. Sometimes people think he's an asshole. People think he's like angry or mad.
He's a little quiet.
He's just very indifferent. He's just like, it's cool, man. It's chill. But
he always says what's up to me. And
he's never rude. Whenever people are like, is he mad? Is he not like me? I'm like, why do you think that though? Because that's you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we're a weird pair because I'm so neurotic and like high strung.
That's probably what it is you're so outgoing. Then he's kind of introverted.
People are like, how does that work? And I'm like, I drive him insane every single day. That's how that works. We balance each other out. He tells me to calm down sometimes, and I tell him to smile, and that works. But no,
you'd be prettier if you smiled,
right? It's much easier that way. But we both had like our own stuff, and we were both just too busy to like fuck around, so it worked out. And then when we did move in together, I'll never forget, it was like one of my funniest stories is that like my husband was kind of a player, kind of a dog,
nice.
Before.
He's a good looking guy.
It's a problem.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
6-pack. It's annoying. It's really annoying because it's like I'm like a decent looking lady, and people are like, oh, you're attractive. I'm like, wait till you see my husband, and they're like, oh, it's a constant thing. But he was, so he got around. He didn't have any problem.
You got good looking kids.
I think so.
Sometimes two good-looking people make like an ugly kid.
Sometimes. His daughter's gorgeous. I mean, his wife is attractive, but his daughter is beautiful. And my kids are beautiful too, but they're just, they're mine, so I'm partial.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, he just moved in with me, and I came home, and he was sitting on the bathtub, and he's looking at this like tube of toothpaste, this like empty tube of toothpaste, and he's just staring at it like shattered. And I'm like, are you okay? What's the matter? He's like, I'm out of toothpaste. I'm like, oh, you want me to go to the grocery store? I'll get some toothpaste. And he goes, no, you don't understand. I'm out of toothpaste. And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, that means we've been dating long enough. I've been here long enough to go through a whole tube of toothpaste. And it had like affected him that he was like, how did this happen?
Existential crisis.
I was on the prowl. I was wild, and now I'm domesticated.
I used to be cool. I didn't care how much toothpaste I had.
Bitches else, and now I'm here, and I'm like, it was hilarious because it was very on brand for us, but metaphorically, I got it. You know, it meant that he had like settled
Yeah.
down and a little piece of his little bachelor soul had died, you know, in that toothpaste.
I had a friend recently be like, "Oh, I'm depressed because I can't find a serious relationship. I hook up with a different girl like every other night or whatever." I'm like, "Oh, boo hoo!" Like, "Oh,
It was
woe
so
is me.
bad.
I'm getting laid too much."
But it's all about perspective. Because so like we have a problem, but it's a constant joke. I'm a dude. Like I have a really high sex drive. I'm always harassing my husband. He's attractive, so it doesn't help. Like I'm always, and he's like, God, like chill out. And other married dudes are like, oh, you poor thing.
Yeah.
Your wife wants to jump your bones all the time. That must suck. And he goes, oh yeah. Have you ever like had to hide in your own house? Okay, like I'm like, y'all do need to cut him a break because it's easy to complain when you're not getting any, but.
Yeah. Also, like a lot of women have like sexual trauma,
Sure.
right? So it can be tough.
There's
like,
a lot of reasons for it. But
in my case, it's like it's either one or the other. Like I'm having sex so much I'm tired of it,
Yeah, like,
or
calm
I'm
down.
not having sex at all.
Yeah, I think that's kind of common, unfortunately. But usually what happens in relationships is one and the other is and they tend to be the ones that get together.
Yeah.
And so they need different things from each other and it causes tension.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks, but it just is what it is. And I'm very self-aware, and so I made that joke with him when we started dating. I tell everybody that like I'm not a big drinker, I don't do drugs, like I don't have a lot of vices.
That's good for comedy too.
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
having a lot of vices because it's very easy when you're out at bars and clubs.
To fall into that like
Some of these
self-destructive-
comedy clubs have like resident drug dealers almost, where the guy just walks through the green room.
I just don't get anything out of that. Though,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's not me talking from an elitist standpoint. I have like a sex addiction with my husband. Like I'm not promiscuous. I don't, cheat on everything like that. But like I look for a lot of validation and stuff like that out of that, which is not fair.
Yeah.
Because at least if I was, doing bumps in the bathroom, that's my business, my time,
Yeah.
my money. You know what I mean? Like I don't need another person to be a willing participant in my self-destruction. So it's got pros and cons to it, but
I'm a bad addict. Like I have to be sober. I can't do anything like at all, or I fall into bad habits. Like especially drinking. Drinking's my drug of choice because I can, after a certain point, if I drink enough, I cannot be me, and that's
pretty common, I think.
That's appealing to me. I cannot deal with the problems I have, and I realized like recently that like when I get home from stand up or whatever I'm doing, like a show or whatever, I'll stay up till like 4 a.m, and I realized that it's because like no one bothers me at that time.
Yeah,
No one
like a
talks to me.
peaceful-
Even people I want to bother me, like, hey, can you do this show or whatever? I don't want to deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'll stay up late sitting at my computer, either writing or playing video games or
but that's like your
whatever.
peaceful time, your you time.
Yeah.
And that works.
And I used to be like, why do I do this? Like, why will I stay up so late and like ruin my morning just so I can
that.
be up on my computer till 4 a.m? And then I realized I was like, oh, it's because no one calls me from.
If you're getting value out of it, that's all that matters. But it's true. I mean, and I say I didn't have the luxury of like a normal self-destructive cycle because I got married so young and I had kids and like I had to be responsible. Like I had to pay the bills, had to take care of them, and I'm not like mother of the year by any means, but I definitely did my due diligence. So I didn't have time to like fuck off and go get drunk with my friends and do drugs and
A
stuff.
lot of parents would do though, like a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. It's I have a lot of friends and I don't judge anybody. Your life is your life 100%. But yeah, like sometimes, you're hanging out in social groups with other friends, like they all got their Yeti cups and I'm just like, and I feel like so not cool because I just don't do that. But again, I don't care that they do. It's just
So do you ever wish you could be that person?
A
who
little. Sometimes I used
socially
to.
drinks and parties.
This sounds weird. I've gotten better about that. Like I would say the last year or two, I drink more now than I have my entire life. And at first it kind of freaked me out. I had like this like breakdown with a friend of mine and I was like, oh my God, am I drinking too much? Because I started doing comedy, I was going out more, because when I'm working at night, I'm working, I'm not drinking. But I was doing more social things at night in bars and stuff, and I was having a drink or two. And I'm like, oh my God. And she goes, well, how much are you drinking? And I'm like, I don't know, like 2 drinks, two drinks. And she goes, how many nights? I'm like, 2 or 3. She goes, so you're having 6 drinks a week? And I was like, yeah. She goes, you're fine. But I had no concept of that, of what a lot was, because I didn't drink at all.
I would have 6 beers a night.
Oh, God, yeah.
At
Well, my
least.
husband's a big drinker. I mean, he could kill a 30-pack on the couch like it's nothing, but that's just his thing. That's just how he likes to drink. And so it just wasn't relatable to me. And so I'm better. I am happy that now I do drink a little more, just to be a little more, because before it caused it made other people uncomfortable that I didn't drink. Like in social settings,
I get that a lot.
They'd be like, "Oh, do you have a problem?"
Yeah.
Like they always assumed there was a reason.
The thing I get a lot when I tell people I don't drink anymore is like they'll get really close to my face and start telling me about how they're gonna quit drinking.
They like emotionally break down with you.
Bro, I can smell like Jaeger on your breath right now. Like, you don't have to lie to me.
It's like I couldn't win. By telling people I didn't drink, they either thought I had a big problem that I was trying to overcome, or that I thought I was better than them because I didn't, or that I was no fun. And I'm like, it's literally none of those things.
I get that a lot too. I can tell people feel like I think I'm better than them because I don't drink. I'm like, no, I don't drink because I'm much worse than you.
Oh, yeah. Well, and like I said, I haven't had as much of that problem with comedy because I will go to a show and have a drink or two now. So people, I don't think they notice that I'm not drinking a lot. Yeah. They see me having a drink, so they think I'm drinking, so it's not a big thing. But back in the day, oh, yeah, it was a thing. And I worked in bars where drinking is very encouraged. And I would just get fake drinks because I could not deal with the drama and the annoying guy, come on, have a shot.
Oh,
and like how frustrated they would get that I wasn't drinking.
The
so
Jeffrey Dahmer.
So I just fake it.
Come on, have a drink, man.
Exactly. I'm like, no, I'll have a Red Bull.
That's I do like when you go to Smith's, they serve a Delta 8 drink because I will partake in THC. Never had a problem with it. I don't black out. It doesn't change my mental state, so I'm okay with that. I've calmed down a lot since I was younger. Like I used to smoke a lot to where maybe it was a problem, but,
right.
But now I don't smoke during the day. I only smoke at night or out at a show with everybody else in the circle or whatever.
I feel like that's a mark of adulthood, maturity, is like when weed goes from like a party thing to a maintenance thing where you're like, I smoke weed to sleep, I smoke weed to relax.
I've heard that weed is bad for sleep because you don't dream, and dreaming is supposed to be really good for you.
Well, cognitively it resets you, but like I don't think that's true. I think the thing with weed that is what I like but also overwhelms me about it is that there's so many variables to it, like different strains, different brands, different types, and they all have different effects. Yeah. So if you eat it or if you smoke it or you like it all does. So it's really about you finding whatever method of weed that works for whatever you're trying to accomplish.
I would love if like more bars had a THC option because then at least I could be like social and party. Yeah, but even like the Delta 8. Can, like the one you get at Smith's, it comes in a little can, just like a beer. So you blend right in. I used to drink like the seltzer waters at like parties. I would bring like a 12-pack of seltzer waters, and people would just think I was drinking a beer.
But that's what I mean. It sounds bad, but it kind of gets people off your back, kind of. Yeah. Like because it just needs to be a non-conversation. It doesn't matter why or whatever.
It's got a little bite to it, so it kind of.
Ginger beer is good for that.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that's kind of probably on the horizon. That's the next big thing because with the pandemic, the drinking got out of control, and now a lot of people are drying back up. A lot of people are getting sober, and so dry bars are popping up where there's no alcohol. They have mocktails. It's a totally social bar environment without alcohol. And
did you ever do that open mic at the like sober bar in Roswell? I can't remember what it was called, but it shut down.
Well, people think there's no market for that, but that's not true. There's a huge market for it.
Yeah.
Like, just because I didn't drink, I still wanted to go out. I still want to hang out with my friends. I wanted to be social.
It can be tough, I guess, to like. Yeah. Especially when you have like a storefront, like a bar or whatever. Well, even just a regular bar.
That's the markup on that. But if you're selling a mocktail for the same, if it's $9 for a ginger fake thing, it's your same margin as alcohol. Yeah. You know what I mean? You just have a different clientele, different people. But
and people will drink less because there's no alcohol in it.
That is the problem. Alcohol is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start drinking, then you got the munchies, you want some wings, you want another shot, you know.
They have those non-alcoholic beers. I can drink those, but it's like
my husband likes those. He said
they're kind of gross.
They're all different. The Sam Adams.
Oh, I haven't tried
Sam
that
Adams
one.
has the best one. It's like in a pink and yellow can or something. He said that's the best one.
I don't like the Heineken one, and that seems to be the most common.
Heineken
one.
Zeros. Yeah, that's the most popular one. It's zeros, but most of them have like a little tiny bit. Every major brand has come out with one now because it's such a big business. I mean, and
you could charge the same amount. I don't care. Charge me $5 for a fake beer. Yes. I don't care. I'll pay.
Well, that's another thing how I know I'm an adult because it's like and since I live in Athens, like if we go out, we probably are going to go to Athens.
Yeah.
And it's such a funny culture shock of a college town. I forget because if I order a drink, it's so fucking strong.
Yeah.
And it's because they want the alcohol. I'm like, no, I'll pay for it. I'm not trying to get more. Like, I want the flavor. I want it to taste like what I ordered. I don't want it to taste just like an alcohol.
My success goal is to get where like clubs know that I don't drink, so if someone orders me a drink, they'll make it with no alcohol.
Well, that's how it was with my job because they all knew I didn't drink, so I could just order it and they knew.
That's nice.
Yeah. But what you can do is if you get to somewhere beforehand, you can just go up to the bartender and because that's what I do too. If we went out somewhere socially and I was with somebody I didn't want to know, I would go up to the bartender and say, hey, look, no matter what I say, I don't want alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay, and they'd be like, got you. Like I would do that on dates, as dramatic as that sounds.
That's
like when
smart,
I was dating. Though. Yeah, because and I know they have like angel shots and they have all these codes for things, but I would just flat out just grab the waitress or the bartender on the way to the bathroom and just say, look, I'm not going to drink, okay? And they're like, cool, and nobody cares. And then it saves any awkwardness or any embarrassment. It's all good.
My mom was a very like professional corporate lady before she had kids, and she always tells stories about how whenever she would go meet clients at a restaurant, she would go up to the bartenders beforehand and be like, look, they're going to order mimosas or screwdrivers or whatever. Do not give me alcohol.
Yeah.
If you don't give me alcohol all night, I'll tip you $50 or whatever.
It doesn't matter, yeah. And that's important. And like I think I'm like creatively speaking from a comedy concept, like so like working at night in bars, because I didn't drink for the first 9 years I worked, I was better at my job. Like I was, because everybody else is drinking, so you're staying sharp, you're staying sales, you're thinking, and they're all kind of getting loose. And so now even
crushing it.
Yeah, I was doing much better than some of the other girls that were getting sloppy or losing time or track or whatever because they were not focusing on what they were there to do. And it's interesting because now I can do either one because I already know how to work sober. I can have a drink or two and be okay.
Yeah.
But if you only know how to do it, and I see that in performers and see that in comics where they always had to be higher drunk.
That was me, man. I had to be messed up before I could perform.
Or they couldn't get on stage. And so now they're struggling because they're trying to be sober, but they can't find that same spark because they don't know how. You have to relearn how to perform sober.
I think I became a much better comic once I sobered up, and definitely a musician. Alcohol is not conducive to music performance.
Not for accuracy, for sure.
Because it's all, even comedy, it's all timing, right? Like you
Yeah.
gotta have that quick timing. You gotta be in the pocket.
Well, that's what I've noticed is that like when you're drinking, it helps with the anxiety. It kind of takes the edge off a little bit, makes you a little more fluid, but then you're not as sharp. Yeah, you're not remembering your lines. You're not, so it's like the lesser of the two evils. What do you think is going to make you be a better performer?
Probably like 7 years ago or so, I tried to like do cocaine and then perform with my band. And I just could not play the songs. Like I just couldn't get the timing down. I was like, it threw me off my timing, and that was like, I was like, okay, I don't need this.
Right.
This makes me suck.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's very self-aware. I mean, it's hilarious. I was talking to Khalil a couple months ago about that. Like, I made some kind of comment about how I've never done like really done drugs. I mean, I've done pot, smoked pot a little bit, whatever. I do that now. Like, I'm no problem with that whatsoever. But like, as far as I've never done cocaine, I've never done I've never done most drugs. Again, no judgment. Don't care. You can do it. I just don't. And every time somebody hears that, they're like, what? Because everybody assumes I do cocaine. Yeah. Because I'm so hyper and I talk fast and we're
because
out.
of your occupation, it's very
prevalent.
prevalent.
Out at night and being out at bars. And like, so in the comedy scene, it's just like kind of hand in hand, right? We're all out at a bar at night. I'm like, ooh, and everybody's like, what do you mean you don't do? I'm like, I have mercy on the people around me. Can you imagine if I did cocaine right now? Like I would explode, But I can just see how their whole mind, just like their whole world is like they're so confused now. Like what are you? I'm like, I just have ADD. I'm hyper. Okay. But it's interesting to me. I want to try to find a way to make a bit about that, to make some kind of funny reference to the fact, like, especially if I have a longer set, like 10 or 15 minutes, I feel like people pick up on the neurosis that I have. And it's kind of cute if I acknowledge it, but I'm trying to think of a way to be like, by the way, not on cocaine.
It's all about flow, right? Like, especially because you're kind of a fast talker. You're kind of you're like a spurt kind of person. I've noticed, and you just have to find a way to like work that into where, all right, here's a 5-minute burst. Yeah. Now I'll chill for like 2 minutes or whatever, and then here's another 5-minute burst, and that'll get you through.
That seems to be my problem, is that creatively I have opposing interests. So my personality, I'm super manic and hyper and blah, 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 like I said. But then my writing style is kind of like longer winded, innuendo-y, kind of longer jokes. So they don't exactly mesh well.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to do better about like, you know, and I'm finally feel like I'm hitting my stride of figuring out how to shorten things to fit the way I'm going to say them, and it's working better.
And you definitely will. The first year is almost like you can't even really judge how you're doing.
No.
Because you honestly don't know. And like, do you record your sets at all?
Every time, every time. I do video and audio.
You got to listen back, because even now, like, what I think I did on stage is never what I really did.
Or I'll catch things, and like it's funny because like sometimes people in the audience will be like, "Oh," because like, I'm setting up the camera, and I'm like, "Oh no, this is not as serious. This is for me to watch and go, why am I doing that weird thing with my hair?" You know, but it helps me pick up on like weird tics I'm doing or things. But sometimes what I do is I do it really far out to get as much of the audience as I can.
Oh, okay.
And so then when I go back and watch the video, I'm not even really watching me. I'm watching reactions I'm getting. So even if people didn't laugh, I'll see people look at each other like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can tell something is there.
That's a good idea.
They're acknowledging each other.
That's something that one of my theater teachers taught me when I was younger was just because they're not laughing doesn't mean they're not enjoying it.
And almost can be a better sign if it's quiet, they're listening.
Yeah.
You know, at least you have their attention.
And sometimes the people who were, the crowd that was more quiet actually enjoyed it more than the one that was loud and rambunctious. Even though you're looking for that big pop, that laugh.
Well, that's what, that happened to me quite a few times where like I thought maybe it didn't go great or whatever, but then after people came up to me and were like, I loved it, it was fantastic, and I'm like, really? But no, I've noticed that with the visual, that helps good and bad. So I can see when I'm getting a reaction and where I'm getting it, and then also I can see when people are like, where I've got him, and then one thing I said, I like lost him, and so I kind of try to tweak that part, and that's helped a lot, you know?
Have you had that like big uproarious laugh yet?
Oh yeah, I've had that a couple times.
It's like a rolling thunder kind of thing.
And that's addicting. That's chasing the dragon.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
It is, but it's a cruel mistress, because the problem is you'll do the exact same joke the exact same way the next night, and it's like meh.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? What was that?
If only you guys could have seen this last night.
You were there last night. No, I've gotten that quite a few times.
But that laugh, that like big, like you can't even really describe it. It's like a laugh that shakes the room.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like, that's the best drug out there.
Oh, for sure. It's like, not to be philosophical, and Owen's great about this, but like, it's like, that's what it's about. Like, it's like being, someone gets you.
Yeah.
Because when you're telling a joke, so when you're performing, someone can like the music or whatever, blah, blah. But when you tell a joke and it hits somebody, even it's like a lot of the crowd work videos are great for this, because even if it's one person, you hit that one person so hard, like they got you. So it's like being heard. It's like being understood. You know, it's like someone gets it.
Are you a big laugher, or are you kind of a...
I will say doing comedy has ruined it a little bit for me, because I was a big laugher, and now I'm enjoying it and I'm listeing, but I am analyzing it a little bit, and that's just kind of what's going to happen, right? Fourth wall break.
I was a great laugher at the beginning, and now it's like, good luck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there are certain comics that sometimes like my camera will be near them or whatever, for whatever reason, because it's like tight quarters, and I'll say something and I'll hear like a and I'm like, yes, because I know they just don't laugh at anything. I know, and because we're comics, so I'm like, I got him. For whatever reason they admired it, whether they thought the joke was good or what I said was funny. It doesn't matter why.
Sometimes my favorite thing to do when someone sets their camera up right next to me is just start talking shit about them.
I know, it's great. Well, and I try not to bother people with that. Like I said, that's really more for me, but I do notice that sometimes that does make me feel good. But like, I miss carefree watching comedy a little bit, even like watching it at home on Netflix and specials. I used to definitely laugh out more.
I think I'll never forget the first time I saw Bob at Laughing Skull, because he always does crowd work, and like he was just crowd working like my family one time, and I was like, this dude is like so funny. I don't think I'll ever get to that level,
right?
And now it's like, he's one of my peers, and like,
but
sometimes he bombs. I've seen him bomb before. So
it's
I'm
like watching your hero. You're like,
yeah.
how is this possible? Don't you know who he is?
Yeah.
Like I've seen that happen too at comics that I really admire, that I think always crush, always do great, and I'll see them get up and just for whatever reason it's just not working in that crowd, and I'm sitting there going like, what's wrong with you people? They're so funny. But
this is the funniest guy I've ever seen. Like,
but that does
laugh.
give me hope sometimes when I'm not doing so great to go. You know, everybody struggles.
That's what I love about comedy too. Is it's very low to the ground. Like the people who were your heroes, eventually, if you stick around long enough and you really put in the work, they will become your peers.
Definitely.
Or at least you'll hang out with them and meet them and like get some advice from them and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like,
people are generally pretty helpful. It's nice.
You know, you watch like podcasts and stuff. I never thought I'd be working on the road doing the same shows as like Bert Kreischer and Mark Normand and like Nikki Glaser
like, this is
and
crazy.
like.
But then you realize they're just people.
Yeah, they're just people, and they put in the work and they're better right now. But it gives me hope of like maybe I'll get there.
Sure,
maybe I can. Yeah,
and you'll remember that. And if you do, and someone else like you comes along, you'll be there to be helpful. And that's the right attitude to have. I think the only time that like the disillusionment of your heroes comes in is when they turn into assholes and they get very like conceited and very full of themselves, and you're kind of like, okay, everybody started here.
That was music for me. I became very disillusioned. I lost that hero mindset of like, these guys are awesome, they can do no wrong, and then I would meet them at the show and they would just be dickheads.
Yeah, and
like,
everybody has a bad night, but I will say that the Atlanta comedy scene overall is pretty good, but there is some of that clickiness, that gatekeeper stuff where they all feel that way a little bit, and they'll be like, I'm a big deal in this town, and they are. But it's also like, yeah, but I'm giving you that respect and due diligence for sure, but you don't need to be like.
But don't you think like in Atlanta, at least, the best comics are like also some of the most nice, down to earth
generally
people? Like,
yes.
You got guys like Nick Murphy and like Catherine and
they're always usually pretty quick to help or to be nice. I agree with that. It tends to be more your middle tier people that like think they're coming up and think they're hot shit that are like weirdly like rude to the people below. But I think it's because they're still insecure. I think the people at the top are comfortable. They know they can walk on any show they want. They don't have to be
like a guy like Nick Murphy. When you hear his comedy or you just see him standing there with the scowl on his face, you're like, this guy's gonna be mean. Then you talk to him, he's like the nicest guy in the world.
But that's the persona.
It'll also cut you the real deal. Like he'll say like, I don't think that joke's funny because of here's why.
And, but that's helpful. That's constructive. It's not critical. It's constructive. And that's what I mean is something being constructive is coming from a good place, whereas somebody just being a hater is not. And that's the difference, is all I'm trying to say, is that like, I think that people that come, when they get comfortable in their craft and where they're at, and especially professionally, they're not feeling threatened by, so say a comic, they've been doing this for a month and they're fucking hilarious and everyone loves them. Most people are going to be like, oh, good for them, that's awesome. But there's going to be one or two people that are like, fuck that person.
Even if it's just on the inside.
Even if it's on the inside.
Like one of my favorite people is Taylor Neely. He's only about a year or two in.
Me and Taylor's pretty close. Yeah, he's a little more than me.
But man, has he just like leveled up multiple times since starting. And I told him when he first started, I was like, yo, you're funny, dude. Like you got something here. And now you see him on festivals.
Exactly.
And on
but
the
it just
big shows.
Put in the work and he did it. But the problem isn't, and Taylor, I talk about this too, is like that your brand of comedy is not going to be for everybody. So there's always going to be somebody that sees you leveling up and going, why is that dude there? And that's a fair observation to make. It's your opinion. But when the gatekeeping comes involved with at the same time is the problem, is what I'm saying. So say I run a show, right, and I have an opinion about this, we're like, oh, look, I'm being a little insecure about this new comic, and I'm actively not putting them on a show that I know they would do well and that my people would like, just because I'm threatened by them. I don't want them to look better than me. That's where I feel like we're hurting the whole scene, right? You know?
And it doesn't help at all, because really at the end of the day, like, everyone has their own voice.
Sure.
And if you feel like there's not enough room in this town for you and another comic, then you probably haven't found your voice yet, honestly.
Well, just do better.
Truly,
They don't have to do worse. You just do better.
Because your voice is not going to be my voice. My voice is not going to be Taylor's voice.
No, totally
or
different.
Nick Murphy's voice or Bob's voice. You know, like, there's enough...
There's enough space.
There's enough food for every mouth.
Well, that's what I mean about that good laugh you're talking about. It's connecting with people. So if all five of us are on a show and we all tell one joke, that one joke is going to hit one person so hard, but maybe not this person. But to that one person, we were the funniest comic they saw because they got our joke. And you have to just keep...
Is there a joke that doesn't work as often as you'd like that you just
That I
keep?
just won't give up on?
Yeah, because you like it.
A couple. I mean, I think it's more tags than like the actual
Yeah.
joke. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I have to be really careful because a lot of my material is like about my kids and my marriage and stuff. I have to be cognitive of where I'm at. So like if I'm in Atlanta and I tell a joke about my husband, like it's probably they're just not gonna
Yeah.
like think it's that funny unless it's like me being a bitch to them, you know?
Yeah. Bunch of single people.
Yeah,
bunch of
like,
losers.
so I have to kind of be careful about it. And I also have to be careful about sometimes, like, I'm really sarcastic and it comes off like I don't like my marriage or I don't like my husband when I'm really just, like, being joking. But I can't really think of one that I think doesn't necessarily work. I don't know, probably. Oh, I have this wine joke where I'm like, this speaks to my soul about like when you're like a woman, like I feel like all the women I know, we all like cry in the closet. We've all just had a breakdown in the closet, you know what I mean, with like a bottle of wine, just like, I can't do it today, I can't take it. And to me, that's just so funny because I don't know a single woman that has kids, especially, that hasn't done that.
Yeah.
And so I want that joke to work, but if you're a 21-year-old girl in Athens, it's just not funny to you, you know?
Well, I think you're very original. You know, there's a lot of mom comedians out there, and it's always
the same jokes.
I see a lot of the same parallel thoughts of like,
sure,
I hate my kids, I hate my husband,
and that happens.
I love to drink wine, I have sex.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what's hard. Like there's a lot of comics that are musicians, and there's a lot of comics that are moms, and like so when there is parallel thinking there's the low-hanging fruit that everyone's gonna get the joke if you make it, but it doesn't feel as creative, right? And so and especially when you're starting, you grab onto those for dear life, and then you have to kind of work. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm working my way through to like what's unique about my kids or my marriage that I think is funny, but that takes time to figure out and finding your voice. And so I agree. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to do, is trying to find ways to make my situation that's a normal situation unique to me.
Hell yeah. Well, we're well over an hour, so that's awesome, because like I said before, sometimes it's like pulling teeth just to get someone to talk for 30 minutes. Is there do you have shows coming up?
I have a bunch of shows. Yeah, so I'm going to be hosting Dancing Skulls Friday. Zane is headlining, so that's going to be awesome. You know, JB's show, Josh's show.
Love JB, love Zane.
Love all of them. Josh, JB, they did great, and they produce really good shows. Dancing School is a great venue.
That venue, too.
It's
the
a
stage
really
and sound system. I wish I lived closer.
I don't live close to that either, but it's worth going to. So definitely Friday I'm hosting that. I've been doing a lot more hosting, which I'm appreciative of because it's helping me work on some of my timing. So I'm hosting that, and then I'm going to be doing Pontoon Brewery on the 7th, and then I'm hosting for Tricks at the Comedy Catch the 9th and the 10th.
Okay,
so I'm hosting all weekend, so that was great because I just did Catherine out there, and that was so fun.
That's great. Yeah. That's a great club.
It was a great club. And
I've hosted there.
Danielle's awesome.
Yeah.
And she's had to push me back a couple times because like some stuff's happened, and then Catherine was just nice enough to let me host for her and Will, and that went fantastic. So then she asked me back to host on the 9th and 10th. So
that's a great opportunity.
I'm really excited about it. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. So everybody come out to those shows and cheer for me.
And where can people find you online if they want to follow you?
On my terrible Instagram page, BAMM comedy is my Instagram. It's also my TikTok. I'm working on being better about
nobody's good at that
letting
stuff.
shit out, but that is where I will always post all my dates and stuff, though.
Yeah.
So, and so I'm open to any and all criticism and opinions on that.
Yeah, cool. Thanks so much for coming through,
having
Britt.
me.
Britt Ammons, everybody.
Yay!
Stand-up comedian, host.
Crazy person, host. Crazy person.
Peace.